We are the recession generation. We grew up with the Asian financial crisis, and now we are facing the worst economic slump in decades. How can we start planning for our financial future in the face of uncertainty? Should we start thinking about getting insurance when we can barely make ends meet? Can we talk about financial security in an insecure time? I'm Nicole Curato. Join me as we take a close look at the challenges as well as opportunities for our generation to build a financially secure future. Welcome to Meet the Millennials, and welcome to you, Eileen Palmes. Eileen is a financial advisor from AIA Film Life. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Nicole. Nice to meet you online.
Right, it's so good to meet you. So, Eileen, okay, I have to admit, talking about finances I find it very difficult and it's a sensitive topic, right? But it's a topic that I think we should talk about, especially now that we are facing very tough economic times. So, as a sociologist, I'm curious to know why you think it's difficult for us to talk about finances. Nahihirapan ba talaga ang mga Pilipino to talk about investing and money and financial protection?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. And who would have thought that, a pandemic would actually arise in our lifetime, no? We have seen employees being displaced. We've seen medical costs even rising and probably emergency funds of people depleting. So I think now more than ever, we Filipinos must be number one, aware, definitely, and acknowledge the fact that life is fragile, savings matter, and that probably good health is the only weapon that we have. But when we prepare for life's uncertainties, we are well equipped, I guess, with having to face these uncertainties with a lot of confidence and assurance.
So, based on your assessment, if you look at the spending habits of millennials, do you think we are actually prepared to talk about these issues? Ano bang spending habits ng generation natin?
I see that the spending habits also of the millennials now during the crisis, it definitely changed because I feel that priorities also have changed. In the last 6 months of the lockdown, during the whole lockdown in itself, I would say about 80% of my clients are millennials, and surprising actually. We noticed that there's money, let's say, that they've spent before for 200 peso coffee or 400 peso dishes in restaurants.
May natatamaan.
May natatawaan ba? But really, the money that was spent for all of those things before, pre-COVID or pre-pandemic, may be used for more important matters now. Number one, it could also be used for better connectivity at home, like better internet. But at the same time, they even also think about protection solutions to save them from, life's uncertainties, like what we're talking about now.
I think one of my curiosities here is if we talk about millennials, we also belong to the gig economy, diba? We're the racket economy. Of course, that has positive aspects like mas may flexibility when it comes to work. Pero yung downside niya is we don't always know where our next paycheck will come from. So is this kind of financial responsibility still appropriate for our generation?
We're so used to the temporary project-based jobs. It instills in us the value of, number one, being resourceful. Maybe hardworking can be questionable also at times because we could be lazy. But at the same time, we're proactive in looking for other income streams. That way, when we find means, we can protect definitely what's important to us. So insurance is no longer a simple product where you die and we pay. It has basically evolved to a multifunctional solution, I feel, that addresses many, many concerns. I think what's important for us to realize and us millennials to realize is, number one, it's affordable and it's priced at a reasonable cost. So it's basically peace of mind knowing that we're not worried about our future. And at the same time, the costs and expenses that we incur when we get sick, it goes to the back of our heads already because at least now we know that we're protected and we've prepared ourselves for it.
So, given these challenges a lot of people are facing today, is insurance still a good idea?
Definitely. It was never about the time, right? So I will always say to my clients even that the best time to get insurance was yesterday, and the next best time to get insurance is today. So now more than ever, I feel that insurance is a need more than a want.
Can you give us examples of insurance products and what kind of investments are we talking about here? In very simple terms, please, because I'm super financially illiterate. Help me out here.
Let's try to look at an analogy na lang. I'm a lady myself too, Nicole. So let me just ask you, do you know how many pairs of shoes you have in your closet right now?
I don't want to tell you.
Okay, so just give me like a ballpark figure of how many there are in there.
I would say at least 10, definitely.
Okay, so obviously you have 10 pairs of shoes, but then, do you actually need all those 10 pairs?
No, that's negotiable, but I know where you're going. Sige.
So obviously, it basically is like life insurance. There are different functions for every shoe, right? I mean, you don't wear your heels when you go jog, or you don't wear your sneakers when you go to a formal event. Also, just like how each insurance solution is, they all function differently, depending on what these are the four criteria all the time, depending on what the need is, if there's a want for it, the priority, and the requirements. So when we talk about these things, we know that each and every product or each and every solution that an insurance advisor will probably talk to you about will be dependent on those four things. So, but then we all know that there's always like that go-to shoe that we have. It's the same thing as the first insurance solution that is probably being offered to you by an advisor, because this go-to shoe or your first insurance solution will also be dependent on the four things. Insurance is not a one size fits all kind of product. It definitely evolved to solutions. Number one, there are products that will include investment, but then there are also other products that will answer needs in critical illness. So there's a financial planning pyramid that we call, where protection. So if this is the pyramid, protection is basically your base of the pyramid, holding the rest of your investments in place. So
Okay.
alam ko it's a little too technical, pero if you think about it, parang si insurance mo na lang talaga yung saving grace mo. It's the one that's holding all of your investments together. Because you have to make sure that everything else is protected.
Well, Eileen, thank you for those insights. Ang dami ko pang tanong. So please stay with us. After the break, we will talk to more millennials who have a lot of experiences to share and questions to ask about finance, investment, and insurance. Please stay tuned. Jenny Carino Villaseñor's life changed when one day she felt paralyzed on her right arm down and couldn't talk. She had suffered a stroke and was diagnosed with expressive aphasia. The 29-year-old project development manager says it would have derailed her life plans had she not claimed her critical illness insurance. Welcome back to Meet the Millennials, and welcome to the program, Jenny Carino Villaseñor.
Hi, Nicole.
So we watched your video and it's such a compelling story. And I think for me, one of the key lessons from what we just watched is how you made a financially sensible decision early on in your career. What prompted you to get an insurance?
Well, at the time, I just bought a new car. And with that car, I was asked to apply for an insurance for it. And then a friend approached me and she was offering a life insurance policy. And at the time, it made sense because to me, I feel like I don't want to leave alone to anybody should anything happen. Not that I was thinking anything was going to happen.
Yeah, so you were thinking about, I assume, parents and loved ones. You didn't want to be a burden to them, so you planned ahead. Ang sobrang responsible mo naman.
It was my first ever big loan, and I felt like, okay, the insurance policy actually covers the amount of the loan. And yeah, I didn't want anybody to like end up with my big loan.
Can you share with us some of your impressions or preconceived notions about getting an insurance, and how did those impressions change once you were part of the program?
Some of these impressions include sayang lang yung pera or masyado to magastos, I'd rather spend my money elsewhere. And these all changed for me because I really saw where my money went. It was in a policy that pulled through when I had my hospitalization.
Can you tell us the precise ways in which getting that life insurance helped you in your journey?
Back in October 2017, I suffered that stroke, diba? I was planning for a wedding. Everything was in order, and then all of a sudden, I was in the ER. If I hadn't taken that insurance policy out, it would have completely derailed all our plans. We wouldn't have been able to afford the wedding anymore because all our wedding money would have been spent on hospital bills, therapy bills.
Can you tell us about that experience when you realize that your hospitalization bills are piling up, and then you realize that actually you have an insurance to cover that? What is that feeling like?
It was a big sense of relief to be able to call a number and really understand that I have an insurance claim to get money for the hospital bills from.
And of course, can I ask you, because I'm sure a lot of viewers right now are wondering why it's important for millennials like you to invest in insurance.
The thing about millennials, we think we are invincible nga. So we think nothing can touch us or nothing can happen. And it's okay. Most likely naman nothing will happen. But it's always better to be prepared. It's better to plan ahead than to react to whatever's happening. It should feel like automatic savings to you. It's like an automatic expense, except that it's not purely outright expense. It comes in as a savings that you don't have access to right now.
All right, Jenny, thank you for sharing your story with us. Please stay there. We will keep the conversation going. When we return, you're still watching Meet the Millennials. Welcome back. You're still with me, Nicole Corato, together with Eileen Palmes, financial advisor from AIA Film Life, Jenny Carino Villasenor, and also joining our conversation is Benjo Flores. As a call center agent, father to a 6-year-old boy, a husband and a son, 30-year-old Benjo Flores wears many hats. He works for his own family's expenses, yet he gives what he can to his parents as well. Benjo says while he's heard about insurance, it wasn't an option for him due to money constraints. He's open to finding one that fits his financial capability. Benjo, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Of course, you've heard about insurance and you know that it is important, pero parang hindi ka pa rin sold to get an insurance policy. Anong kwento dito?
Siyempre kasi I'm a father of who's trying to survive daily, and ang parang priority ko is yung basic needs muna nung family ko eh. Kailangan mo pa ng extra para makapag-insurance ka, makakuha ka ng insurance.
I think we should bring Eileen in this conversation kasi syempre may impression na ang insurance ay hindi burgess problem lang yan. Na parang on one hand, we say mga millennials masyadong gastador, pero let's not forget na may mga millennials din naman who are really struggling to make ends meet. So what's your take on this?
To be honest, Nicole, ang challenge talaga ngayon is really to strive for financial independence. Filipino mindset nga na the kids are going to be the retirement fund of the parents. Diba? So our parents are actually, very hardworking people. Sila yung nagtrabaho talaga para mapundar ko ano yung meron tayo ngayon. They also have gone through, probably an eye of a needle to put us to where we are right now. But wasn't the mindset nung time nila was, di ba, alam natin to when we were younger, ha anak, pinag-aral ka namin, kaya mag-aral ka ng mabuti para, one day pwede kang maging doktor, pwede kang maging police. Nang sa ganun, makapahinga naman kami at makarelax naman kami ng papa mo. But the thought is instilled in us millennials kasi, yun nga, like what we mentioned, we are the sandwich generation. Kasi while we are building families of our own, like si Benjo, may anak, we are also caring for our aging parents who have worked tirelessly for us. But in reality, I feel as if that the cycle should end here. Diba? The cycle should end in our generation. That is also the reason why we have to prepare. That there's a need for us to prepare, protect, and definitely safeguard ourselves.
Benjo, anong tingin mo doon? Kasi syempre parang ang hirap din isipin na sabi mo nga kanina, pinagkakasya yung kinikita natin tuwing payday and then ang suggestion naman ni Eileen is kailangan nang magsimula.
Parang yung flexibility nung cost nung insurance, parang kung mag-fit ba siya dun sa kung ano yung salary ko or kung merong system na pwedeng ito pwede ka dito sa amount na ganito or something like that.
Correct. So, buti nga Benjo na you bring it up kasi I think ito yung mga kailangan natin i-debunk na mga misconceptions natin tungkol sa insurance na baka mahal nga siya, hindi ko pa siya kailangan. Kasi ang idea nga natin dati na ang insurance talaga pang extra income ko lang yan. Yung mga extra kong pera, dun ko lang ilalagay para sa insurance. Pero ang masakit ngayon is kung may mangyari sa atin, kailangan natin i-pull out lahat ng mga naipundar nating mga pera. Sometimes in other cases pa na kailangan pa natin maghiram ng pera just to be able to save ourselves, correct? At mas talagang tinatarget namin ang mga taong nagtatrabaho araw-araw, 'di ba? Kasi ito yung mga breadwinners natin. These are the people who make up the economy and we have to make sure that these people are protected at the very most. Pero ngayon, mas flexible nga siya, Benjo. Nakikita na natin na mas madami ng tao ngayon, lalo na yung mga kumpanya, for example, na i-prioritize din ang insurance para sa mga empleyado nila kasi alam nilang kailangan din nila.
Right. Let's bring in Jenny to the conversation. So what are your concerns at the moment with the insurance policy that you have that you might want to ask Eileen?
Since meron akong pre-existing condition and I really believe na legit to have an insurance policy para prepared ka, but I feel discouraged to apply for another one kasi nga I feel like mas expensive na siya because pre-existing condition na naka-claim na ako sa insurance policy ko. Would you have advice for me in terms of shopping around ulit for insurance?
Pre-existing conditions definitely are something that life insurance companies will actually take hold of, or parang they will factor that in. Obviously, that's a given. But that doesn't mean that we've closed down our doors to people with pre-existing conditions. I understand the sentiments na, ay, shucks, baka mas mahal nga yan kasi may pre-existing condition na ako before, baka nga mas mahal. Rule of thumb lang naman, pag insurance, the younger you are, the cheaper it is, diba? The older you get, the more expensive life insurance gets. And goes the same way with anybody who already has a pre-existing condition because syempre the whole process talaga of underwriting will be a little bit more tedious. Syempre yung pag-approve, all of that, they will factor that in. But that doesn't mean that once the door is closed, that there is no window for you to open as long as it's in the parameters of the law.
Nabanggit ni Benjo kanina na may mga kaibigan ka rin na agents or napag-usapan nyo na rin yung insurance. Ano usually yung mga issue na napapag-usapan nyo?
Kung legit yung insurance company na nag-o-offer ng insurance, like paano yung process, tapos paano ka makakasigurado na meron ka talaga makukuha after, or pag kailangan mo na di ba yung insurance mo?
Ang bottom line yan talaga is the relationship you have with your advisor. Regardless of if it's your friend, tita mo yan, kapatid mo yan, or whoever. In the end, it's all just gonna be the relationship you have with them. But just for you guys to know, na parang there are definitely ways for you to monitor on, or to even interrogate, as Jenny's term, or investigate on the standing, let's say, of a certain company, or at the same time of an advisor. Millennials tayo, alam natin, it's so easy to just Google a name now. In the end, it is still our responsibility. Hindi siya responsibilidad ng agent mo, or hindi siya responsibilidad ng life insurance company, but it is also your responsibility.
Ang dami ko pang tanong, and also ang dami ko ring natutunan in this episode. But I think for me, what really stood out is the importance for us to start having this conversation. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but now more than ever, this conversation is so necessary to have. So thank you to our guests, Eileen, Jenny, and Benjo, and thank you for watching Meet the Millennials. I'll see you again soon.